All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Naseem Shaheen. With me, as always, is my brother and co-host Babar Azam. This might be a repeat of many a podcast that Backward Point has done. You can go back and check out the podcast that we've done with the USA loss against Pakistan. You can check out the Afghanistan loss against Pakistan. You can check out all the Indian losses. See, there's live stream available. This will not be a new podcast. If you've heard those, you've heard them all, you can click off right now. But if you haven't, and you're here for the Schadenfreude, welcome to Backward Point. Do not forget to subscribe because you guys come here, you guys enjoy all the banter that we have, you guys enjoy our misery, our pain, and then you don't even subscribe. So like, what's the point of life at this point, right? Like I'm here sweating our tears in front of camera and people aren't subscribing, Bashar. Before anything, Pakistan has lost a home series to Bangladesh. As much as this is going to be about the reflection of Pakistan's loss, I want to make sure that we don't take away from anything that Bangladesh has achieved here. They were brutal. They came with a purpose. They came with an attacking mentality and they proved themselves. So kudos to Bangladesh. Kudos to Bangladeshi fans. They have been waiting for this for a very long time. And as always, this podcast leaves us humbled because I was the one shitting on Bangladesh the most when this podcast was at its peak. Lots to talk about. We have an agenda-filled podcast, 4 pages of notes. Bashar hasn't said a single word yet because I will keep on rambling because honestly, what am I doing here?
The first thing is I don't know how we just went past not addressing the fact that we are not in our typical studio.
Yes. I'm also a little bit groggy because for some weird, faint reason, I had a sliver of hope and I watched the cricket match up until, I want to say, lunch.
So currently we're in the middle of moving houses. I mean, we have moved houses and our current studio, which we plan to build, is under construction. So currently we are in my bedroom. I like to separate my personal life and the podcast life. But today it seems like the podcast life is overlapping or stepping across the line to my personal life, to the fact that it's come into my bedroom now.
What even is your podcast and personal life? Everything is your life now at this point.
It is. It's hard to differentiate.
But I can't even go to like Walmart anymore without kids being like, "Hey, you're from Backward Point."
It is. It's tough. It's getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah. So being a celebrity is hard, isn't it?
It is hard.
This test match, this series comes at one of the worst times for me personally. In my personal life, one of my favorite bands, Oasis, has reunited. And if you're even a fan of the 90s Britpop, for you right now, elation is insane.
Question for you, actually.
Yeah,
on that Oasis arc.
Yeah.
Let's say me and you have this crazy fallout.
Yeah.
Backward Point.
Which might happen in this podcast right now.
It might happen. Backward Point has a huge fight.
Yeah.
It is documented online.
Yep.
And you go out and make your own channel. I go out and make my own channel. And in 10 years, there's some crazy event in Pakistan cricket history where me and you have to get together. Is that a possibility?
Pakistan win the World Cup in
Backward
like 2036 and Backward Point is back. I think we have a better chemistry than Noel and Liam did, to be fair. But I'm telling you, anything can go awry in this podcast. But yeah, that'll be an interesting little tidbit to see how that works out. I don't know if that's really what the fans want to see. But you know what? 2 different channels. I've been telling you to make your own for a very long time. It'll be an interesting little experiment.
In the works. When Pakistan lost to the USA at the T20 World Cup, the title of that podcast was, "Is this the lowest Pakistan cricket can go?" And the next match was Pakistan choking against India, couldn't chase 120 in New York when they needed like a run a ball with 8 wickets in hand. And now Pakistan has lost to Bangladesh, whitewash, or as Athar Ali Khan mentioned, Bangla wash. So I think the Pakistan cricket team took that title and they were like, hold my beer.
Yeah. I tweeted today from the Backward Point podcast X Twitter account. You guys can check the links down below. Have we hit the bottom of Pakistan cricket yet? Probably not.
Pakistan has been exposed in every single format in the last 8 to 9 months. Starting off with losing to Afghanistan at the ODI World Cup, losing to the USA at the T20 World Cup, and now losing to Bangladesh at home 2-0. And I wanted to do in this podcast just a bit of a deep dive as to what that means and how sort of we've come here. But before we get into anything, this episode is proudly sponsored by Yashi Sports, Canada's home of cricket. If you need any equipment cricket related, Yashi Sports should be your point of contact. They got the best equipment, they got the best expert advice, and to top it all off, they've given us an exclusive code BP10 for 10% off your next purchase. I need thigh pads. We're sort of getting towards the playoff end of the season in Canada. So I'll be reaching out to Yashi Sports using the code BP10 for 10% off my next purchase.
And I'll be thanking Yashi Sports for providing him thigh pads because at this current moment he's using mine and they get really sweaty by the time I go out to bat. So please, Yashi Sports, help a man out.
Hey, they got quality equipment, they got quality expert advice, and Yashi Sports is my place to get quick cricket equipment in Canada.
Want to get started on this?
Yeah. By the way, they also provide shipping globally. North America, I think if your order is over $350, it's free shipping.
Which you can easily get up if you're buying a new kit.
Yeah, if you get a helmet, pads, a bat, your order will go beyond that. And if you're in Canada, 10% off means it'll sort of waive off your taxes.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so getting into it, this is Bangladesh's third overseas test series win in history.
In history.
So I think that they've beaten Zimbabwe overseas, they've beaten West Indies overseas, and now they've beaten Pakistan, which is it's incredible, especially in the context of what is happening in Bangladesh. It seemed like when you were mentioning in the intro that the Bangladesh players were more prepared. They came with a plan. They were more united. They were fighting for a cause.
And they actually had a bowler who could bowl 145 plus.
Which is, no disrespect, but I've never seen a bowler bowl that fast for Bangladesh.
There's no disrespect. That's facts.
And what the sad part was that Pakistan had no bowler touching 145 clicks. Even Naseem and Shaheen, the first test match, are supposedly premier fast bowlers, were struggling to hit the 140 kph mark.
Yeah, and that's the reality that we're living in.
So it's sad. I'm happy for Bangladesh. I'm always happy and excited when I see a fast bowling talent emerge. And I think Nahid Rana is that bowler for Bangladesh. And looking at the crop of fast bowlers they have right now, Taskeen Ahmed, my favorite Bangladesh bowler, beautiful action. Hassan Hamoud, another up-and-coming fast bowler who has a smooth, repeatable action, bowls good 135 clicks. I think if he puts on a bit more muscle, gets on a diet plan, could easily touch the 140 kph mark consistently. And they got Ibadat Hussain, who also bowls 140 kph on the bench. They've got Shoreful, left arm bowler on the bench. So they've got a pretty good group of fast bowlers at the moment. And I think, they're on the right track. Bangladesh, it's so ironic and funny that because you've roasted Bangladesh on this podcast so many times and you've roasted Shakib in specific so many times, it was fitting that Shakib hit the winning runs today to complete the Bangla wash.
Honestly, this podcast has humbled me so much in the past 18 to 24 months that every single opinion I have can be challenged. And honestly, at this point, it's not even just that they can be challenged. They can be completely refuted and blown away. Every single thing we've said in the past 18 to 24 months pertaining to Pakistan cricket has come back and bite us in the face. That is the reality of the way that Pakistan has been playing cricket. That is the reality of the way that we actually have been sort of rising in the ranks of people's opinions, and which is fine with me. That's okay. That's something I have to live with. When you point out opinions on the internet for so long, you're bound to get a few right. I just think it's just extremely curious the way that I shit on a team and that team comes back and bites us. It's very weird. Maybe I should shut down the podcast and just let's see what happens then. Let it play out.
Every single player or team you've backed on this podcast has flopped. And
except Islamabad United, which solid.
There was somebody in the Discord who said that ever since Backward Point launched its Discord, Pakistan team has gone to shit.
That is 100% true.
And maybe right now it's time to put a pause on the Discord. I would say no. Keep joining the Discord, guys. It's a great, fun, non-toxic place to discuss Pakistan cricket. join it for free.
At this point, I want to say that if that's the case, then well, I'm sorry, Pakistan cricket, you got to do better because the Discord fam is not going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, what's going on? Are you?
I'm feeling hot.
You're like you're rolling your sleeves up. Are you about to get into something?
I'm about to get into a lot of something. And speaking of Nahid Rana, by the way that he got Babar Azam out twice, spectacular. Kudos to him.
On this podcast, every time Pakistan loses, there is a massive segment of Babar Azam.
Which
and trust me, we're about to get into it.
This is probably the segment of Babar Azam that we're getting into now. There's no hiding behind any stats.
Just before we get into it, I just wanted to give some context as to how bad this series loss is for Pakistan at home. Emphasis on the at home portion. So just going a bit of back in history, I wanted to go back around 14 years ago when Misbah ul-Haq took Pakistan's captaincy. And in the context of when he took captaincy, Pakistan had lost two of its premier pacers to spot fixing, Mohammad Amir, Mohammad Asif. And they lost arguably their most prolific opener in Salman Butt. Misbah then comes in, takes over captaincy. And this is the point in Pakistan's history where they're not playing any home tests in Pakistan. UAE is Pakistan's forced home. What Misbah does next is he makes UAE into Pakistan's fortress. In his tenure of captain, Pakistan had played 9 series, won 5 of them, and lost 0. Undefeated in series in the UAE under Misbah's captaincy. Now, after Misbah retires in 2017, Pakistan plays 3 series in the UAE or at home, and they've won 1, they've lost 2. Now, Misbah comes back as coach, and under his coaching tenure, Pakistan plays 3 series. Pakistan wins all 3 series. So again, Misbah as a coach and captain is yet to lose a series at home. After Misbah's coaching tenure, Pakistan has played 4 series. They've won 0, they've lost 2. And clearly shows, however, whatever opinion you have of Misbah ul-Haq, at least he made sure Pakistan wins series at home.
Yeah, the style could be argued that maybe it wasn't appetizing, it wasn't appealing, it was quite boring the way that he was coming out and winning those games. But at the end of the day, people just look at results. People just look at the foundation that you've built. Having 0 L's at your home fortress, that's something that can never be taken away from Misbah. And even as a coach, it's astounding how far we've dropped from that level, especially at home. Like, we have yet to win a single test match series at home. It's been 9 series, I believe at this point. And we have drawn a few, gotten whitewashed twice, drawn 1 and lost 1.
Pakistan winless in last 10 test matches at home, 4 draws, 6 defeats, and this includes series defeats by Australia, England, and now Bangladesh.
Insane stat. Absolutely insane stat. I don't know what to do with that stat.
Pakistan, before this test match, does something quite bold, and I will commend Jason Gillespie and Shan for this move. Post this test match, Shaheen Afridi has a son. He goes to wherever his son is born. He meets him, and he comes back after a couple of days to rejoin the team. And he is informed once he comes back is that he is being dropped from the second test match.
Do you want to use that word dropped, or do you want to use the word rested?
Whatever you want to say.
Different connotations.
Well, you're resting him by dropping him.
Okay. Interesting.
Right? So for me, it's the manner of how it happened. Like, if you just had a kid, maybe this conversation could have happened over the phone. But for the Pakistan team to release Shaheen, let him spend a few days at home, and then bring him back to give him the news that he's being dropped, to him to then go back. I wanted to touch just a bit about how the PCB has treated Shaheen Afridi in the last few months, ever since he was given captaincy. So post ODI World Cup white ball captaincy, officially T20I captaincy was given to Shaheen. He goes, plays 1 series in New Zealand. They lose 4-1. He comes back. Chairman changes. Mohsin Naqvi comes in, and white ball captaincy is then taken away from Shaheen and given allegedly forcefully back to Babar Azam. Now, once that happens, Shaheen is then blamed for Pakistan's loss at the T20 World Cup. Once Pakistan is eliminated from the World Cup, there's news that is being leaked on purpose that Shaheen had some misbehavior with the management. He said a few words to Muhammad Yusuf at a training camp. So basically, all the attention was being diverted to Shaheen Afridi's behavior and his attitude and how he was talking to Babar and these dressing room fights that are being leaked and how there's no unity and all that stuff. And once he's back from the World Cup, he is scheduled to go and play the GT20 here in Canada. Contractually, he is obligated to go and play this league. It's part of his 2 leagues per year thing. PCB denies him the NOC, saying there's lots of cricket coming up, especially with the home test season. Bangladesh comes, Shaheen plays 1 test, looks out of color, and he's dropped. So, I mean, at this point, if I was Shaheen, I would be like, yo, screw Pakistan cricket. Let me go be a globetrotter in leagues like Amir, like Imad Wasim. Like, what is the point of playing for Pakistan? I'm not being treated well here. There's clear disrespect amongst the PCB management. There seems to be an agenda against Shaheen going on. There's these news being leaked of rifts and how Shan Masood can't put his hand over Shaheen's shoulder. Apparently, Shan came out today to clear the fact that Shaheen had some pain in his shoulder. And when he put his hand over his shoulder in a dugout, Shaheen removed it because he was in pain.
Okay. That's a lot to unpack. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Let's talk about Shaheen just for a quick moment and focus on that a little bit. He's your premier fast bowler. He gave you not 1, but 2 very good World Cups in 2019 and 2021, pre-injury, obviously. We all know how the injury was handled by the PCB. Extremely juvenile behavior, extremely immature behavior.
Shaheen went to the UK on his own expense. He was living in a 3-star motel, bearing his own expenses at what's that football club where Dr. Zaf is the therapist?
I'm blanking the name.
Okay, there's a football club in the UK where Dr. Zaf is the doctor, and he diagnosed and helped Shaheen with his rehab.
Dr. Zaf is the football?
I think so, yeah. There's a football club, man. I forgot the name.
Manchester United. No. I don't know.
Something with a C.
LFC? Is it Liverpool?
No, I don't know what the name.
It says Liverpool. CPFC, whatever. Spurs? Tottenham Spurs?
Forget it.
Anyways, yeah, that happened. And then they were like cheap enough to be like, oh, we'll reimburse you the receipt. Did you hear about that as well? That was one of the worst things I've heard ever, honestly. Like, it's absolutely disgusting and shameful the way that he was treated. And then he comes back, and obviously his rehab, I don't want to say it was questionable, maybe not to the point of, let's say, a rehab that Bumrah got.
His rehab was rushed, and you can see how he was running in the game against India at the T20 World Cup. He was jogging in, and there's an argument that Pakistan perhaps lost some of the matches because of Shaheen's fitness.
Yeah.
The game against Zimbabwe, Pakistan need 3 off 1 ball, and Shaheen is unable to come back for a second run because he's not fully fit.
Yep.
Shaheen is not delivering balls at his best ability, accuracy, and pace because he's not fit.
Yeah. He costing you games. And then when his rehab did come full circle and he felt like he was better, the 2023 World Cup happened. We know what happened there. Babar's captaincy was revoked, given to Shaheen, and that whole thing that you talked about. In this scenario, if I am Shaheen, will I not be pissed at this situation? If your work environment, and we keep reminding people that this is a work environment. People like to post and boast about how it's an honor to wear the greens and how it's an honor to do this and that. I agree. I think it would be an honor to work for Google as well if I was working at Google. But at the end of the day, it's work. If Google treats me like shit and I'm not getting compensated fairly and they're not taking care of me, I will be upset. I'll go to Apple, right? Now, in this situation, we don't really have that comp. We don't have another Pakistan team to go to. But as it stands, this is the only place that Shaheen has to play cricket internationally, and he's being treated absolutely horse shit. This is not the first time that PCB is treating their fast bowlers horribly. We know the difference between Shoaib Akhtar. We don't even have to go that far, by the way. We saw what they did with Ahsanullah. We saw what they did with all the other...
Naseem Shah.
Hasnain, everybody. We know what the BCB is capable or incapable of doing. When it comes to Shaheen, they're treating him horribly, and his performance is a direct reflection of how the treatment is off the screen. That I have to say this, I have to emphasize this because there is a lot of weightage to what is happening on the ground, and there's a lot of weightage for what is happening behind the screens. Now, what is unfortunate about this whole situation is that there's so much drama going on behind that what is happening within the green patch doesn't matter.
You mentioned the toxic culture and work environment and not being able to perform at your best. One of the best case studies of this is the fact that Saima Ayub can be the highest run scorer of the CPL playing for Guyana Amazon Warriors. Azam Khan can score runs all over the world in leagues. A player like Haider Ali, who was not picked in the initial PSL draft after being a platinum pick last year, then comes in for Islamabad United and wins them 2 crucial matches. So how are these guys performing for other teams and other leagues? But as soon as they come in the Pakistan team, there's something happening within that dressing room culture where they are not able to perform. They're not able to put all the BS aside that's happening, all the
Noise.
the noise, if you want to call
It's
it.
not being turned off.
It's not being turned off.
If anything is being elevated within the dressing room, and how I would kill to be a bee or a fly on that wall when Pakistan came back after the second loss. What does Shan say? We talked about this.
Does
in
he
the
say it
previous-
in English or Urdu?
Doesn't I think the whole English Urdu debate with Shan Masood is completely stupid. They're trying to make something very important very trivial, which is that does this person even deserve to be captain?
That's what the players think.
Right?
The
That's what we
players
talked
feel
about.
like Shan needs to earn the respect. And how can you do that when you're averaging 28 in test matches?
Exactly. That's the way we talked about in the previous podcast. Is that maybe cricket is a ruthless game, man. You have to earn your spot, And at this point, your captain doesn't really kind of get a spot, Like the number 3 that he replaced was Azhar Ali.
And
Take that
Azhar Ali statistically is one of Pakistan's most prolific run scorers at number 3. And the way we sideline Azhar Ali, he was at 97 test matches. How many players in Pakistan's test history have played 100 test matches? Javed Miandad, Wasim Akram, and Zamam ul Haq, Salim Malik. I can't remember of anybody else. And you have the player, Yunus Khan, you have a player like Azhar Ali who is at the cusp of playing 100 test matches, which is a huge achievement, right? He's been serving Pakistan cricket for so long, and you sideline him just before that milestone. Sad. Fawad Alam has a couple of bad innings, and you sideline him as well. So
Fawad Al-Mera is like that's a whole completely different thing. Like we could go into that. That's a whole other podcast. But what I'm trying to say is that when your captain himself is not proactive, not in the sense that maybe his captaincy is horrible, but we can get into that if you do feel like that. But what I'm saying is this respect, right? The reason that Babar had such a long tenure was because he kept scoring runs. Like people forget that. He has a really bad PR campaign going on right now. And we'll talk about Babar in length. But the reason that he was able to stick around for almost 3.5 years was because, hey, he was scoring runs.
and Ramiz Raja was a huge fanboy of Babar Azam. So
I mean, even after that, do you think Mohsin Naqvi isn't? Like,
true.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like there was runs being scored, and
I mean, sorry, just on the Sam Masood point, Virat Kohli, when he took over captaincy, brought in a culture of fitness in the Indian team. And he was able to do that because he was Virat Kohli. He was India's best batsman. He was scoring runs right, left, center against whatever bowling attack, whatever conditions. And once you're at that level, then you can demand from your players and be like, if you're not fit, you're not going to play for India. So how is Shan Masood going to come into the Pakistan dressing room, averaging 28, 400s, and try to change the mindset of the Pakistan players?
I think that's a very visible problem. You can see that he doesn't command the respect that like a Babar Azam does or did at some point, and that's a huge problem.
He's got a record of being one of 3 captains in Test history of losing 5 of their first Test matches that they've captained.
Who
3
else?
in Australia.
Who
2,
else is on that list?
I think the other 2 from Bangladesh, Khalid Masood and Khalid Mahmood.
Tough. I mean, Bangladesh out there rewriting history, so I don't mind that list. But Shan Masood, his horrible run as a Test captain so far Do you see him completing the WTC cycle?
It's tough. It's tough. Also because if he doesn't do it, our official vice captain is Saud Shakil.
Who's too young?
But at the same
He has 10
time,
test matches.
Mohammad Rizwan is quite interested of being captain as well.
Mohammad
And
Rizwan,
he's been in the runs, so he's like, I might as well make me captain.
4 innings, 294 runs, and average of 98. Mohammad Rizwan this series. Only shining star in this entire series for Pakistan.
Outscored by Mushfiqur Rahim.
No, Mushfiqur Rahim,
191 in the first test.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's true.
If you want to go a bit more deeper into Shan's captaincy and what's happened in the past 5 tests that he has captained, I've got a bit of numbers on where Pakistan was in a few of the matches. They were in winning positions. They weren't able to close the game off, and that's why Pakistan have faced a bit of tough losses in the past. So starting off with the game at MCG against Australia, Pakistan had Australia 16 for 4, courtesy Shaheen's 2 wickets, and then Mir Hamza's beautiful back-to-back
Travis Head.
wickets. Travis
We
Head.
met Meet Hamza at the hotel in Islamabad for maybe like a minute. That was the first thing we told him. Like, bro, that in-swinger Travis Head, insane.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, head nod. Pakistan had them 16 for 4, and at that time, Australia was leading by 70 runs. Had Pakistan gotten Australia out in that innings for, let's say, 120, 100 or something, they would have been chasing 170 at MCG, and they could have won the match. But Pakistan instead let Australia make 262, and Pakistan goes on to lose by 79 runs. They've given up an opportunity to win a test match in Australia after almost 30 years. That would have been historic if that happened.
MCG Boxing Day test would have been insane.
Absolutely insane. And then the first test match against Bangladesh here, Pakistan, in hindsight, prematurely, I would say, declares at 448 for 6. And then Bangladesh outscores you. They score 545?
560, 550 something?
565.
Yeah.
And then they go on to win by 10 wickets. This game, Pakistan had Bangladesh 26 for 6.
Insane. Out of all the scenarios, this was most likely to be you probably bowled them out for 80.
And then Litan Das and Mehdi Hasan Miraz have a crazy partnership. Litan scores 130 odd, Litan scores 70 odd, and they go on to make 262.
That was the game?
That was the game.
Yeah, that was the game. You bowled them out for 100. Your target is not 170. It's probably 270, 280. You probably got them in the rafters by then. You either draw the game or you at least win it. And in both scenarios, in both the test matches in this series, Pakistan was able to, from a dominating position, lose.
Give it away. I think one of the bold moves they did make was bring in Mir Hamza. And
one of the bold moves they didn't do is not keep Naseem in the squad. I keep Naseem from Muhammad Ali every day. Am I crazy for that?
What Shan Masood said in the post-match was that he wanted to ideally, and he said if it was up to him, I don't know why he mentioned that word, if it was up to him. He said, if it was up to me, I would play Shaheen the first game, Naseem the second game. But Naseem Shaheen played the first game, got dropped for the second game. But what I'm trying to say is that Muhammad Ali, Khurram Shahzad, aka Desi Dale Stain,
Gotta talk about him too.
and Mir Hamza, these guys are our top wicket takers in domestic cricket for the past few years. So for Pakistan to come out and give them an opportunity, that is a good sign. These guys are seasoned cricketers. They've been through the rigor of first class, and you can see it just by the lines and lengths that they can bowl all day.
But did Muhammad Ali impress you?
Not really.
Same. Would you not have rather had Naseem in that spot over Muhammad Ali?
Honestly, like nostalgia is a B, but I'm missing Muhammad Abbas.
Muhammad Abbas.
Yeah, I mean, so Pakistan dropped or they sidelined Muhammad Abbas because he doesn't have pace. But at the same time, you bring in Mir Hamza, who also bowls 130. His first spell, 128, second spell. And then second innings, he's like 125. So that's pretty much what Abbas can do. And Abbas has great stats in Pakistan and UAE. So he's a bowler who bowls wicket to wicket, can get the ball to reverse if needed. But he's just been sidelined for the past 3-4 years from the Pakistan setup. Still averages like 22 for Pakistan. One of the fastest 250 test wickets.
Do you think that his sort of ship has sailed? He's 34 now. And the last test match he played was in 2021. Last ODI was in 2019. It's been a while.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Why did you sideline him?
No, that's not for me to answer now, is it?
I was convinced when we were told that a boss in the second, third spell is like 125 clicks, and that's what his pace is. And second innings, second spell, he's like 122, and Rizwan is keeping him from up front of the wickets. So, yeah,
So if Rizwan's keeping to you, he'd probably be like stuck to the front, right?
Yeah, might not even need a keeper
That's tough.
because no one's missing a ball.
That's tough on you. That's tough on you. I'm just saying, like at this point, yeah. I mean, not to bring back the Mohammad Abbas train, but I think I would prefer Mir Hamza just because he got that left hand, he got that swing in. He bowled a really beautiful bowl in the second innings again. I'm forgetting who he bowled, but I was watching that live. Man, this team has made me. I was up till 2:30, almost 3 a.m. last night, just watching.
Here's the thing about Mir Hamza. Mir Hamza debuted in 2018 versus Australia in Abu Dhabi. Tough conditions, I must admit. But his pace 6 years back was 130. His pace 6 years now is still 130. So why isn't he doing any technical work? Why isn't he getting more stronger and increasing his pace? I remember when Bhuvneshwar Kumar made his debut in ODIs against Pakistan in 2012 or 13. His pace was like 130, but you see his pace towards the later half of his career, and he was bowling around about 140 clicks regularly. So India is doing something with their bowlers where they come in and their pace is 130, and they're doing some technical work. They're doing some things with their body where they are getting better with their line lengths, with their fitness, with their bowling actions, and they're increasing their pace. Pakistan, I'm seeing players stagnate or decline.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Pakistan had no pacer, not even on the bench, who could bowl 145 clicks. Like Pakistan is supposed to be the land of pacers, and we don't have anybody in the domestic circuit.
I think a lot of illusions were broken in this little spell of 18 months. A lot of things came to fruition. One thing definitely came to fruition. Pakistan does not have a leading spinner. Pakistan does not have a leading fast bowler at this moment.
Well, there's a question about the spinners because we had spinners in our bench, which we have tried, but not consistently enough. Like we had Sajid Khan, who is one of Pakistan's domestic kings in terms of spinners who take lots of wickets. We had Numan Ali.
Didn't Sajid Khan go to
Australia? Went to Australia. He played a test match there. Took a few wickets, but again dropped. And then you had Numan Ali, who could bowl good left arm spin and bat a bit. He has 15 test matches. Not given enough chances, again dropped. So Pakistan, I think, does have some of the spin resources, but they haven't played them enough to groom them or give them proper chances.
Babar averaged 123 runs this test match. He only took 1 wicket in the second innings.
Mystery spinner.
What are you gonna do? What do I do with that? Like, I don't know what to make out of these numbers. These are so insane. Let's talk about Babar Azam. Where do we want to begin?
64 runs at an average of 16 in this series. And I'm about to give you guys some crazy Babar Azam stats. So hold on to your chair or be focused while you're driving if you're listening to us.
Don't crash, guys.
Since January 1st, 2023, for batsmen who have batted a minimum of 5 innings or more at the number 4 batting position, Babar Azam has the lowest batting average.
Which is?
20-something.
Yes.
Actually, I had the stat here.
20.26.
Yeah. And Babar Azam is on that list is Athanaze from West Indies, Craig Irvine from Zimbabwe, Hashmatullah Shahidi from Afghanistan, Henry Nichols from New Zealand, Jermaine Blackwood from West Indies. And Babar's average is 21 in 11 innings, no 50s, no 100s, highest score of 41.
The highest average in that position since 2023 is England's Joe Root, 55.25.
Joe Root is on a different level right now.
Right now, he's on a completely different level. He's eyeing the 50 test match hundreds that Sachin Tendulkar had. He's eyeing to break his record in test matches.
And the amount of test matches that England play,
he might as well do it.
He probably will do it. He's just 33 years old.
Yeah, he can play 4 more years, easy. 5 more years,
easily.
That's insane. So like, it's not even on the same level. We've said this before in a podcast. The conversation about the Fab Four, it's over.
So just to give some context on what the Fab Four is, Fab Four were the four batsmen that were pointed out by Martin Crowe in 2014. And he pointed Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Joe Root, and Kane Williamson as the next big four batsmen in world cricket. And 10 years on, and they've dominated world cricket in the past 10 years. Now, this is Babar Azam's PR team. This is Babar Azam's social media team that tried to push the agenda of, hey, wait, no, there's no Fab Four. There's a Fab Five. And you know what? Babar Azam is in there.
I think we should take some responsibility of that too. We push that agenda as well.
We are part of the problem.
Yes.
I'm gonna come on here and admit that backward point is part of the problem.
Yes. Unfortunately, that is the truth.
Unfortunately, we are currently in an era of social media and TikTok cricketers, and we have to come out here and take the responsibility of playing our part in that.
I love Out of Context Cricket on Twitter. Have you seen this page?
Yeah.
I love what they post. And they have this one post where I'm pretty sure this was fabricated or a meme, but it said something of the sort that, man, it's not Babar Azam's fault. He just had like 173 km/h in swinging dipper. Nobody could play it. It was actually an unplayable delivery. Like they had that, and then they had it reposted with different stats for the second innings because, mashallah, my brother Babar was unable to make anything happen in all four innings that he batted. We talked about him a little bit before. What is going on? Like, how is he still getting out? There's a compilation on Twitter. Again, I urge people to check this out, of him getting out in the past 18 months. It's either a fast bowler on fourth stump, seaming it back in, or him playing a stupid shot on mid-wicket, or a left-arm spinner with an arm ball. How could it be that you and I sitting here could point out those weaknesses, but nobody in the Pakistani cricket camp is telling Babar Azam that he needs to develop a sweep shot?
Well, maybe they are telling Babar Azam, and Babar Azam's like, how about you shut the hell up because I'm Babar Azam.
If that's the
I
case,
know better than you.
Do you think that's actually happening?
I think in the past, there's been a Pakistan batting coach. His name was Adam Holyoke. And he came out and said that Babar Azam wasn't really open for too many suggestions in his batting technique. People in the Karachi Kings camp have also mentioned that Babar Azam was quite stubborn with the decision that he made as captain of Karachi Kings the one year. We've seen him not be as flexible with respect to changing things in the Pakistan team, whether it be him going one down to make way for Saim Ayub and the T20I side. So from what I understand with the rumors that we've heard and how much we've observed Babar Azam from afar, that I'm not sure he is open to criticism. I don't think he's open to suggestions. And we've seen that a bit by just Babar Azam's PR team online. Like anybody who has ever pointed a finger at Babar Azam he's gotten roasted. And we've been a victim of that multiple times. People online think there's two factions. There's one faction who says, oh my God, you guys backward point. You guys are Babar Azam fanboys. You guys need to calm down, right? Easy on the Babar Azam glazing. And then there's another faction who's like, oh my God, you guys are too overly critical of Babar Azam. You guys have an anti-Babar Azam agenda. So people out there are quite confused.
And I just want to come out here and say they both are wrong.
They're both wrong. We're critical of Babar when he's not doing good. We're supportive of when he needs support.
Yes.
And we've been quite vocal of our criticism the past few months for Babar.
And our appreciation when it's there.
Exactly.
I think we've been quite fair with Babar when it comes to its criticism. But at this point, the numbers don't lie. You cannot sugarcoat this as much as you want. These are bad numbers for anybody. And this is Babar Azam. He's supposed to be Pakistan's best batsman of all time.
Allegedly.
He's supposed to be that guy. And this is the prime years. A batsman matures from the age of, let's say if he starts his career at 22, 23, he matures by 27, 28. And from 28 to 32, 33, that's his peak years. Those 5 years, that's when he scores the most runs. My man's turning 30. Where are the runs?
Bro is getting owned by Prabhat Jayasuriya in Sri Lanka. He's getting owned by Shakib in Pakistan. He got owned by Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh in Australia. I was seeing Babar's ball-to-ball innings against Bangladesh, the fourth innings. Third innings. And it was just channel balling by Bangladesh. Fourth stump going out, coming in, and Babar just did not look like he was there. Like he hit a boundary towards the offside, and it seemed like
Point.
he hit that by accident.
Yeah, he was trying to hit it somewhere else, went to point
Like
four, but
Babar, he's
no
not
control.
there. And the funny part to me, the shocking part is that Babar had 2 months off to himself post the T20 World Cup, and I don't see an improvement in his fitness. I don't see that he's been going out there and doing some tactical work. I don't see him developing new shots. Babar Azam had no evolution in his captaincy, and now we are seeing no evolution in his batting.
The number one thing that we've discussed off camera as well when we were talking about Babar was that if he's getting stuck on a good line delivery by a left arm spinner that comes in, the arm ball or the one that actually does come in, develop a sweep shot to combat that, right? If you have a shot that puts the bowler on the back foot, then he's not going to bowl you there. It's as simple as that. If you go on the aggression, that's what Rizwan does really well. That's what Sarfraz did really well. I mean, keepers are really good
He
sweepers.
can learn from Rizwan or Sarfraz. They're
Why
both
not?
in the team.
Why not? We had Mohammad Haris on the podcast, and Mohammad Haris said that he could learn from anybody, from the groundsman, from this, that, and the other, from youngsters, from I don't know if maybe in his experience that was the case, but I'm yet to see that kind of progression happen for Babar. And that's very scary because if this is it, then the number 4 spot, it's being hunted. It's hunted.
I repeat, Kamran Ghulam is knocking.
Kamran Ghulam is knocking, man.
That door is about to go down.
Pereira be knocking for Abdullah Shafiq because we got to talk about him as well. Your boy did not show up in a single game, in a single innings in this game, in the series. With Babar, his downfall should be studied because how can one person be at the top of the world, at the top of Pakistan cricket, and then suddenly be the reason we are losing games?
A lot of people compare Virat Kohli's downfall, his lean patch in cricket when I think it was during COVID times, with Babar's current time. But the difference between those two is that Virat Kohli, firstly, he already had 70 international hundreds at the point. He had already kind of conquered cricket, right? He changed the game. He was an icon of the game. And Babar had one good year in 2022. He was the ICC Cricketer of the Year. And I don't know why, but I do know why. His Babar Azam and his agency thought it was a great idea to tweet for Virat Kohli saying, "This too shall pass, stay strong." And I don't think it's any secret, but we spent some time with Babar Azam's agent here in Canada. He was a consultant for Vancouver Knights, and we had a lot of opportunities to interact with him, have dialogue with him, understand a lot of things about Babar.
Lovely guy. Very good guy.
Talabai, great guy.
Give us the time of the day, spoke to us for hours. I answered all our questions, and we had a lot of them.
We might not have agreed with a lot of things he
Yes.
said, but one of the questions I did ask him was, why did you guys decide to tweet for Virat Kohli? And his response was, it was quite innocent. He mentioned that he wanted to lend a hand towards Virat Kohli. Olive branch, exactly. Just kind gesture, because Babar Azam at that time was peaking in his batting career, and he thought it was a good gesture for him to come out and support Virat Kohli. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of these gestures. I mean, in the past, Mohammad Rizwan has also tweeted for Mohammad Shami when he got some hate when Pakistan beat India in the 2021 T20 World Cup.
152-0, yeah.
I don't think it's these cricketers' responsibilities to come out and support each other when these things happen.
Mhm.
I think their essential and primarily goal is to focus on cricket and ensure that their batting keeps improving, that they keep scoring runs, and that when they do have a lean patch, that they go back, do some technical work, and improve on their game. Their job is not to be goodwill ambassadors trying to build gaps between these two countries.
I agree and disagree with that. Cricket diplomacy is a thing, and we've seen that happen multiple times in the past. All the way from when Zia was president of Pakistan to Musharraf to Yusuf Raza Gilani going and watching the semifinal in 2011. There's a lot of cricket diplomacy that comes into play. But when it comes to these gestures, it looks so like two things happen, right? Either it ages like fine wine or it ages like milk. And at this point, it's aged like milk. It's sour, it's bitter, it smells bad. And at the time, maybe it was okay, but as the days go by, it just looks worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's become a meme. It's become a
I
meme.
think it's given a bad impression. It's sort of like when
It-
Babar
it-
made that tweet, he felt like he was on top.
was-
And maybe statistically he was on top, but one good year of international cricket does not make you somewhat superior of Virat where you're tweeting to support him. Because I know for a fact that now that the shoe's on the other foot, I'm confident Virat will not come out to tweet for Babar, and he should not.
he shouldn't. Yeah,
There's no need to do it.
I agree. I think it was a little bit miscalculated. However pure the intention may be, it just seems that as the downfall continues, everything that used to be corny and cheesy has just come out and become annoying. And that happens when you're not winning games. That happens when you're losing at home. That happens when you are the star player and the runs are not flowing, and you look like half the self that you were a couple of years ago. And again, it could be a lot of reasons why this is happening. Could be a lot of off the field reasons. Like we've talked about that a few times. But at the end of the day, whose onus is it to come out and fix these problems? It's Babar Azam's. There's nobody else he can blame. There's nobody else he can talk to about this instead of himself. He needs to take onus, take responsibility, and fix this mess. Now, if that does that mean it's technical? Does that mean there's a little bit of psychotherapy? Whatever that may be, being heavy as the head that wears a crown. Babar Azam did wear that crown for a very long time as being Pakistan's greatest batsman. The tragedy of this whole situation is that there is no one to replace that spot. We don't have anybody else to come out and play that number 4 spot in test matches. Kamran Ghulam is knocking though. But I'm just saying, like, to that level, it's hard to make that decision to drop someone. But Babar Azam is trying his darnest to not stay in this Pakistan team.
Yeah, it's I think it's a lean patch for Babar. He's a good player, and I'm confident that he will come back eventually.
When? Like, what series? This was the series that was supposed to be the comeback series. Score big runs, bring your form back, get
Here's
ready
a
for England.
conspiracy for you, okay, and everybody else.
Yeah, I hate this already.
So Babar Azam, when he was captain of the Pakistan team, you have certain powers as captain, and one of the powers you have is to sort of work with the curator and make pitches. And there's a conspiracy that when Babar was captain during the home series, he made flat pitches so he can come out and score heaps of runs, which he did. I think I was watching the test documentary, and the first test, Pakistan and Australia at Bindi, Nathan Lyon comes out after bowling to Pakistan the first innings, and he says, that is an absolute road. That is the worst pitch I've ever played on. So how can you be out there developing these pitches? And Ramiz Ajra was also part of this whole pitch debacle. And now that Chan Masood has come into captaincy and he's sort of going for a bit more of a fast bowling friendly pitch, we're seeing not just Babar, but all of the other Pakistan batsmen being exposed, which I think is not sitting right with Babar because he likes to have roads and flat pitches where he can come in, score runs at will. There's no swing, there's no seam, there's no reverse swing. And, lots of runs are being scored. I think England, they scored like 500 runs one day.
Yeah.
And like 4 or 5 centurions.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I have that series completely wiped into my memory because I have to engulf this new series that's coming. It's going to be very similar to that. And I don't know if I buy that conspiracy theory 100%, but there was definitely a correlation to Babar's spike in runs and the Pindi roads, as they call it. Let's talk about Abdullah Shafiq a little bit.
Yeah, just Pakistan's top order in general. I have a stat here of Babar Azam. Sorry, not Babar. Pakistan's top orders averages by batting positions since the start of 2023. And Pakistan's openers have one of the lowest averages, 28. Pakistan's number 3 has one of the lowest averages of this list of all test playing nations, 25. Babar, we've discussed, is averaging 20.26 at number 4. And this clearly shows that Pakistan is having a massive top order issue where batsmen's number 1, 2, 3, 4 are not scoring runs. On the other hand, Pakistan averages some of the highest or the highest at number 5 and 6 for batsmen who have good averages. Number 5 is 53.38. Number 6 is 56.53. Which is basically shows that batsmen like Saud Shakil, Mohammad Rizwan, and Salman Ali Agha are rescuing Pakistan's ass once the top order has collapsed and have not shown up.
100%. So what What is the reason? Is that lack of confidence? Is that the inability to play the new ball? Is that swing seam not being able to be handled correctly by these top four people? What is going? Do we have the wrong people up there?
Well, Abdullah Shafiq, as much as I've seen him this series, he's just looked lost.
He looked like Babar Azam 2.0.
Shirt number 57.
There we go.
Babar's 56.
There we go. That's the conspiracy theory I want to start. 56 and 57 not performing together. Come on.
I think Abdullah Shafiq is having some technical issues in his batting. I saw his dismissal the last innings of the second test match, and he was just chasing towards a wide one. It was not even like, it was like six stump and feet going nowhere, driving
hands
the ball,
moving,
just
or
hands
head
going
falling-
for it,
falling
head
down,
falling
yeah.
over. The first innings, you got a peach. I'm not going to lie. I saw that over ball to ball.
That was insane. Taskeen Ahmed, I don't know how he produced that, but that was insane.
5 balls going away from him and 1 ball that nipped back top of off stump. Just an absolute peach. And we've seen Abdullah actually struggle against the incoming ball, whether it be Stark in Australia, or whether it be Taskeen in this innings. So again, Abdullah needs a lot of work on his batting and his technique if he wants to sustain on this level, because you've got teams like England coming over who are going to be well researched, well equipped with your weaknesses. And then Pakistan goes to South Africa, where there's going to be a challenge of its own.
Let's talk about Saud a little bit as well, because if he does indeed become the captain in between this WTC cycle, that'll be insane. Firstly, horrible call, but insane call. What happened to him? First innings, amazing 140 odd runs, and then the next 3 innings, complete no-show. Like, that's not the responsibility that's the lack of responsibility that I was not expecting from Saud. I feel like he has a smarter head on his body and not go out the way that he did.
I think the extra pace has gotten to them. Actually,
Sometimes he just went out and just tried to slog sweep.
a lot of the Pakistani batsmen have been troubled by extra pace. And I think that goes back to the fact that we don't really have a lot of express pace bowlers who can bowl to these guys in the nets, who they can face in first class cricket. Like Saud Shakil is now a first class cricket veteran of Pakistan. But how many bowlers has he faced of the pace of Nahid Rana in the domestic circuit?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Anybody that comes
Like, how is he going to get used to facing a bowler who's bowling like 145 clicks regularly if he doesn't face anybody like that?
What about the arm? Does that not help?
The arm is okay, but
It's not real bowling.
it's not the real stuff.
So you're saying the lack of domestic pace is the reason that these batsmen are not able to perform with express pace in the international circuit? I don't know if there's a correlation.
I
to
think
that.
it's one of the reasons.
I don't know, man. Like, you can practice for these things at this point. Technology has improved so much. You can have a bowling machine. You can get somebody to throw an arm at you. It's just like you can find excuses as to why you're not being able to perform. At the end of the day, the runs are not on the board and your top four is collapsing. Like, we're at a situation where our captain is averaging 28 in tests and we can't drop him because we don't have anybody on his replacement. Like, that's insane to me. Like, the only reason Shan Masood's place is in the team is because he's captain. That's wild. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Only reason that Babar Azam is still playing at number 4, despite not having scored a 50 in 2 years, despite not having scored a 50 in 14 innings,
15 innings.
15 innings at this point, is because he's Babar Azam. This is the leanest patch of any modern day cricketer. I was listening to a stat recently of people.
Was it the ESPN Cricket Info video?
I believe it was that, players coming in and out was the leanest patch they had, longest time before they scored a 50. He talked about the top Fab 4, and then he talked about Babar Azam. And at that point, I was thinking it was 14 innings, and now it's 15. And now your competition. This was supposed to be the reset series that put Pakistan back into the groove of winning and able to go out and compete with with a team like of South Africa and England who's coming at home. But at this point, like, forget the WTC cycle. I was like, oh, Pakistan might win all of the games and go straight into the final. And I'm like, yo, we're out. It's gone. The dream is over. The day is done. And you know what? I've realized something as I followed this lean patch of Pakistan cricket. First, it's very reminiscent of that late 2010s patch where it was just impossible to watch Pakistan play.
Again, we were still winning at home then.
Still winning at home, but it was still impossible. Like, that Azhar Ali captaincy era and ODIs was insane. The post Sarfaraz captaincy, like, it was just a lot of stuff was going on, which I was like, I don't know if I'm there. The only thing was that I could check out and I didn't have a podcast. But now, like, I have to follow this, and it's genuinely like heartbreaking. But I've realized that from 2021 to 2022, 3, Pakistan was just winning, and it was a habit. Winning is a habit, and Pakistan have lost the habit of winning. They've started gaining the habit of losing. They're finding ways to lose that is comical at this point. Like, how do you lose from the US? Like, it's not only about chemistry and gelling and team, self-esteem or whatever. It's also that they've forgotten how to win games. If you look at the last 8-9 series that I was looking at, the only series that they've won is a 4-1, I believe, T20I series against New Zealand, 2-1 against Ireland, and a tri series. That's it. That's an insane stat. Out of 11 series that they've played, home and away, that's wild. And I'm telling you, man, it's all about winning as a habit. They've lost it. They have to come together. It's a cultural thing. If you lose it, it takes a very, very long time to come back. You can lose it in a matter of months, and it can take years for it to come back. And at this point, I don't know, man. There's a lot of problems going on. Who's going to be the person to sit these people down and fix it? I don't know.
I feel bad for Jason Gillespie.
Bro, this guy just came in and walked into him and Kirsten both. Just walked into a
They're
storm.
getting some ridiculous questions at the press conferences.
Like what?
This one guy asked, not Jason, but he asked Shan. So he's like, Shan, are you going to apologize to the nation after this horrific defeat?
What did he say to that?
He said, yeah, I do apologize.
Good guy.
We haven't played well recently. And I think our nation deserves better. Because sadly, Pakistan is now a one nation sport, cricket. And I think now cricket is sort of acting as a representation of Pakistan's other departments and facets of their economy, their politics, their GDP. Take out any facet in Pakistan is in the decline. And cricket is not falling too far behind from that. But the sad part is that Pakistan had cricket was the only sport where they could like sort of compete globally. I still meet some West Indian cricketers, umpires that we play with here. And you mentioned Pakistan, they're like, man, those guys, Imran Khan, Zahir Abbas, man, they were so good back in the day. What's happened to the Pakistan team now?
Yeah.
And I know he's from West Indies. He doesn't have much of a word to say because their team sort of worse than Pakistan right now. But point being is that cricket was one of the things that we were dominant in, where we had a say in the world, where we could compete with India. And even now, India is so far ahead in every single aspect of their country.
Yeah, and it becomes a miracle when you beat India now.
Yeah.
It's not the same playing level field as it was. There was a time when Pakistan was ahead and India used to chase the Pakistani cricketers, and now it's the opposite. And actually, the divide is a lot worse than it was in the 90s, where Pakistan was just whipping India. Now it's just gotten so much worse.
We're still ahead of them in terms of like ODI overall matches.
It doesn't matter because we played a lot of ODIs in the 80s and 90s.
And a lot of it was in Sharjah.
Yes. So like let's take some modern day stats and talk about the last 15 years. And I think we've won one ODI game or maybe two at this point. And it's wild the way that we've been just being the way that boxing cricket has just like sidelined itself. Like, you talk about being a competitor with the big three, you talk about a revenue model, you could talk about all of these things, but nobody's going to pay attention if you don't score runs.
I think Babar Azam said this the best. He said that Pakistan is now in the second tier of international teams. So there's India, Australia, England, the big three. And then you have the second string of international teams, Pakistan, South Africa, maybe.
No, that's not what he was talking about. I think he was talking about second tier in the sense that there's a top six and there's a bottom six.
Okay.
And Pakistan is in the bottom six. They're with teams like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Zimbabwe. And the teams that are on the top, like Australia, India, England, South Africa, New Zealand, those are at the top. And there's a specific and significant divide between those two sides. And it's high time that Pakistan accepts that. And I think it is high time that Pakistan accept it. We may have exceptional talent. We may have batsmen like Babar Azam. We may have star talent, but we don't know how to put those puzzle pieces together anymore.
And even within the bottom six teams of Pakistan, Afghanistan, you mentioned, is in there. Bangladesh is in there. If you lose to Afghanistan at the UAE, 2-1 series in T20s last year, and you lose to them at the ODI World Cup, and then you lose to Bangladesh at home 2-0. I think there's a conversation that maybe Pakistan is right now below Afghanistan and Bangladesh on that list.
And somebody has to take a good hard look on why that's the case and how we can come back from it. As we wrap this up, again, implore everybody to hit the subscribe button, like, and check out the Patreon and all that beautiful stuff. Right before we leave, Bashar, what's next? How do we get out of this? Do we get out of this, or do we just slump through the next 8 matches that is upon us and just hope that we don't have to do this over again?
I think Pakistan has a month left until the test series with England. They need to go back into the drawing board and they need to figure out, firstly, what brand of cricket they want to play at home. Do you want to make spin wickets and spin the opposition out? Or do you want to make pace-friendly wickets and then face the fact that you can be 250 all out, the fact that you can have a batting collapse, and you may not have express pace bowlers like England who have Mark Wood. We don't have anybody similar to Mark Wood in our team. So
Even Bangladesh has Nahid Rana now. Who's
Exactly.
very similar to Mark Wood in the sense that 145, 148, I'll come in for like a 6-over spell and I'll bowl you out.
yeah, in Pakistan, they're begging Haris Rauf to play Test cricket. He hasn't played first class cricket, so it's not, you can't really blame Haris Rauf for not playing Test matches. He does not have the legwork or the domestic cricket behind him to play Test matches for Pakistan.
Nor do I think he wants that, because there was an ample opportunity. Like right now, he could just be playing Test cricket. The domestic circuit is starting soon. You can play a few games, get that rhythm in, but I don't think that's in his forte. That's not his game plan in the future. As it pertains, it'll be very interesting to see what squad Pakistan play in the next series. I think it was a missed opportunity not playing Naseem in this game. I think the way that the wicket was moving, bouncing, I think Naseem would have been lethal here. He would have really helped the cause.
And statistically, Naseem is actually quite good at cleaning up the tail.
Yeah.
I think this was documented by Daniel Rasool. I saw his stat where he mentioned that Naseem is quite good at cleaning up the tail.
Yep.
So when you had Bangladesh 26 for 6, Naseem could have been that guy who comes in and gets those 4 wickets to get them all out.
Yeah. So, like, that being said, a little bit of a better planning would help. Again, Gillespie's first series as coach. So everybody has to step back, take it with a grain of salt. But honestly, this can all be rectified if Pakistan play good cricket, attacking cricket, and winning cricket against England. Suddenly you beat England 2-0 in the series, the ties are shifted.
Well, if Bangladesh can come and beat Pakistan 2-0, I think a 3-0 whitewash by England is definitely on the cards. And just by the way, I think there's not going to be a captain change until Pakistan comes back from South Africa, because I doubt any captain would want to take over captaincy going to South Africa, because those are, I think, 2 or 3 test matches which Pakistan are going to struggle. It'll be lucky for them if they compete with South Africa, let alone win the series. So we might be stuck with Shan Masood up until January of next year.
Does Shan Masood have any redeeming qualities, meaning that if he starts getting in the runs? The problem right now is Pakistan, nobody's scoring runs for Pakistan. And people need to start getting into the runs, right? So if that's Babar, if that's Shan, if that's Saud, once that starts happening, things look better. Yes or no?
I agree. I think Shan Masood has the right mindset. I think he has the right intentions, but he needs the performances to back what he's saying. And I hope he scores runs. I hope he scores like centuries against England, because I feel like he's on a mission to at least get a rod ball cricket back on the right track. And Jason Gillespie has mentioned that they're looking forward to a squad mentality rather than relying on individual players. And by benching Naseem and Shaheen, you are giving that message out to the team. And I feel like if Babar doesn't score in the next couple of tests, we might even see Babar being rested for
A third test match.
their
against
test
England.
match. Correct.
Yeah. Who would have thought that we see the day? I think, Bashar, we did our best to sort of decompose, sanitize, and clean away the dirt from the filth that I feel after I witnessed these 2 test matches. Again, full credit to Bangladesh. They came out attacking. They wanted to win this so badly, and it showed. They had veterans like Mushfiqur and Shakib in there that help the cause. But they have new talent like Nahid and Hassan Mahmood that are just exciting to watch. And I hope that they're able to continue this form. I hope that they're able to beat more teams away, beat a Sena team. I would love nothing more. They did do that with New Zealand at home, but something away would also delight me, honestly.
They're going to India next.
Yeah, well, good luck in India. But the layers at Bangladesh, who used to be East Pakistan, coming into Rawalpindi and beating Pakistan 2-0, I can't even start to unpack. The layers, I can't even start to peel back what that means to them. And
I think back in the 70s, they had a quota of having at least one player from East Pakistan. And now they're back here. They had a full strength team.
Man, it's almost, it's a very emotional topic for a lot of people. And I wish them nothing the best. And I hope that Bangladesh cricket just rises and rises from here. Them being a force to be reckoned with in international cricket just makes international cricket more fun. And as much as the heart breaks for Pakistani cricket fans, I'm elated for them. I think, I pick on them a lot. We pick on them a lot in this podcast, that they're just no shows at tournaments and bilaterals and blah, blah, blah. And they've been playing cricket for 50 years. They're still so bad. But you know what? Shut up call was made. I am quiet now. I'm on the Bangladesh cricket team bandwagon. Make it happen. And congratulations to all our Bangladeshi fans. And then commiserations to our Pakistan cricket fans again and again and again.
On the Instagram stories for Backward Point, I asked the Backward Pointers.
You're trying to make this happen. It's not happening.
I asked the Backward Pointers, how do you guys feel about this loss? And some of the common responses were numb, nothing, expected this, used to it. So I think the Pakistani cricket fans have hit so many lows in the past 1 year that this is nothing new. This is just another stab in the heart. And it's hard to recover from these consistent stabbings.
Yeah, I agree. Again, extremely groggy podcast for me. I was up till 3 a.m. watching this darned test match to be aware of what was happening. It just left me completely sleep deprived. But as it stands with the podcast, we are redoing our podcast studio. Like Bashar said, we just moved to a new space. It's going to take some time to re-up everything, but hopefully it'll be better, prettier. And just like, we're just excited with the way that we're moving with the podcast. Thank you for everybody for their patience. Thank you for enjoying this episode. Please click on the links below. Check out Yashi Sports. Check out our Patreon. And
leave a review on the audio platforms,
please,
if
yes.
you can. Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Spotify now has comments, and we've activated them. So if you have comments for listening to this on Spotify, leave a comment.
Drop the emoji of the day.
What's the emoji?
A lot of you guys are not posting, not commenting the emoji of the day.
Does that mean that they're not making it to the end of the podcast?
Perhaps they are.
Perhaps that's the vibe. If that's the case, then shame on you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Do what you guys want to do. Emoji of the day is whatever you feel like after this series.
I think what I'm feeling is upside down smiley face.
Yeah, the world turned upside down at this point.
But I'm also happy for Bangladesh, and I'm excited to see Nahid Rana.
Yeah, it's a mixed feeling.
Mixed.
Anyways, that was Pakistan cricket for you. It all sucks. Oasis is back. It's great. See you guys in Wembley next year. And
am I Liam and you're Noel?
I don't know, man. Maybe. But you don't have
the older one.
You don't have Liam energy though. That's the thing. We've
been called Kamran and Umar Akmal by someone who has been a guest on the podcast who shall not be named. And I thought we were like Steve Waugh, Mark Waugh.
Naqvi Saab, what have you done to us? Anyways.
Andy Flower, Grand Flower.
We haven't taken his opinion on this. We should give him a call.
Sean Marsh, Mitchell Marsh.
Okay. Anyways, thank you for listening to the podcast.
Yusuf Irfan.
Nasra Sayyed out.